Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel, or welcome if you're new here. And today we have a brand new set of speaking questions. So let's get started. Part 1. Did you have a bicycle when you were young? So unfortunately not. I really wanted a bicycle. I don't know, for some reason, like, of course, I had friends who had bicycles, so I would kind of, ride behind them, ride pillion. Once, I think a friend even tried to teach me, but I was very scared because her bicycle didn't have those tiny, small balance wheelies, and I was always afraid that I'd fall and I'd, break my nose or teeth or crack my head or something. So yeah, I was and kind of still am a bit of a scaredy cat. And I really, like I said, I really wanted a bike as a child, but my parents were like, again, they were also afraid that, okay, what if, she falls and what if she, gets injured? So I never got one. And I didn't even pressure them for it because like I said, I was also kind of scared. Did you ride a bicycle when you were little? This is, I did briefly ride, but like for like 1 minute maybe before I got too scared, even though my friend said, no, no, go ahead, you won't fall, just try. And she was really encouraging. But ultimately, I was too scared. I thought that, oh my God, the second that I lift my feet, the second that I start, pedaling, I'm going to fall and I'm going to get an injury and I'm going to break something. So uh, I have technically, yes, but like for barely a minute. The kind of bicycle that I would have probably benefited from was the one that, has those balance wheels on each side. But those are, people think that, oh, they're for kids who are like, 6, 7, 8 years old. And once you're a teenager, you shouldn't have those. It's kind of uncool and whatever. So yeah, I didn't get to try that kind of bicycle. Did you ride a bicycle to school? No, I didn't. So when I was a child, I changed a lot of schools. Mostly I'd have a bus come pick me up, but the last school that I went to was literally exactly a 2-minute walk from my apartment building. So, I mean, for such a short distance, doesn't make sense to, get a bike, learn how to ride it. But even otherwise, I do remember when I was, I think, I don't know, 5, 6 something years old. So when I was in first grade, yeah, I had like a friend whose mom would ride a bicycle. And occasionally, especially if I was a little bit late, she would come and she would pick me up. So there'll be, this woman, and then there's two kids on the bike, so on her bicycle. So that only happened like a few times, maybe 3 or 4 times. I don't remember that being frequent because, again, my mom was always scared that, oh, what if she falls, or what if something happens, and so yeah. Do you ride a bicycle when you go out? Now, obviously not. It's a shame though, because I think that, things like bicycling, swimming, all these are things you should know, right? But I don't know either of those things because I was always scared. And I still am to an extent. I want to learn, but I'm super scared. And the funny thing is, my mom knows how to ride a bike. So she never taught me though. She wants to, but again, the fear that, and I'm like, more than most people, I'm kind of a huge scaredy cat. So I would like to, but then the thing is, when I consider that, I even like told my mom, hey, why don't I, get some, lessons, and why don't I buy a bike? And then she was like, oh, but then you have to think about the traffic and you have to think about the condition of the roads and how, for example, when it rains, it can be a bit dangerous. And even otherwise, like, going out when there's buses and there's cars just flying past. We live like maybe like 7, 8 minutes away from a highway. So it wouldn't really be the best idea. Cycles, yeah, not the best idea, not the safest anyway. Okay, let's look at our part 2 question. There we go. Describe a trip that you took by public transport. You should say when it happened, what means of transport did you take, what did you do during the trip, and explain how you felt about it. Yeah, so this happened last month in August. I don't remember the day. I think it was August 7th because that's when I had my appointment with the dentist because I have an appointment every month because I have braces. So it's a little bit far far from where I live. I think it's, I don't know how many kilometers, but it's basically on the other side of the city. So traveling, by Uber or taxi or something else is not really an option because that would just take way too long. So we take the metro, and this is a relatively new line. It just, I think, started like last year or something. It's relatively new. But then I have to take like two of those. So I have to change the train halfway, and yeah. But it's pretty smooth. I do enjoy it. I think it's comfortable. We have a lot of, public transport options. We have buses, we have of course, we have normal trains, suburban trains that lie flat on the ground, but then we also have elevated metros, and then we also have an underground one that's coming up pretty soon, I think by the end of this year. So lots of options. It's a very dense city, so I take the metro. I like it, but oddly enough, my mom does not. I don't know. She finds that it's kind of claustrophobic, but also, because with the normal suburban trains, the doors stay open. But these, of course, the metro, the doors are always, shut. And it's also like, winding. So it's kind of like zigzag sometimes. Whereas the normal suburban trains are mostly kind of straight. So she didn't like the experience. It kind of gave her a headache. And that's kind of happens every time because we had to take the metro. It's the quickest option. I like it though. I mean, if I had the metro when I was a college student, that would have been so great. It's such a comfortable ride. It's all air conditioned as well. So it's comfortable in terms of, temperature. There's good seating space, standing space. It's a great experience. And, usually I'm just listening to music or just checking stuff. I remember a couple months ago, I was even able to just use my laptop on the metro and just, study a couple of things because I had an upcoming exam. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I hope we have, more such metro lines. We will, but that's like they're all like, still being built and stuff. And yeah, but the city desperately needs it. So overall, I mean, I do understand though. A lot of people complain that, oh, it's not very affordable. I can understand why they think that way. But then when you consider the fact that it's, great, it's very convenient. When you compare it to any other mode, obviously, I feel like the price is justified. I don't personally find that it's too expensive. Although, yeah, not every single person will be able to use it, which is kind of a shame because overall, public transport really should be something that's within reach of most people, right? If not all. But I think that's just because they're trying to recover costs. It's kind of a public private, partnership. So obviously, in the initial years, they want to see their losses, being recovered. So I kind of understand that as well. Let's go on to part three. Do you think traffic jams would be reduced if people could travel on public transport for free? I can speak for the situation in my country, in my city specifically. I do think that would definitely help. There will always be people that would prefer to use their car or their motorbike. Lots of people have motorbikes in the city that I live in. It's very popular. So, like I said, there will always be people that prefer, the comfort of their own vehicle. But, if buses, trains, the metro, if all that was free, uh, that would definitely reduce traffic jams. I think that would like transform the entire city overnight. I cannot imagine my city without traffic jams, but if this kind of a move were to be put in place, that would definitely help. And why not? I mean, people generally try, and I mean, it's actually not expensive at all. The buses are super cheap. In fact, they even reduce prices, and the train, the local, commuter suburban train network is also super cheap. The metro can be a little bit, not so cheap for many people, but overall, I think we already have some of the most inexpensive public transport in the world. But you give people an opportunity to save money, most people would take that. So yeah, without a doubt, for sure. Why do you think more and more people prefer to travel by plane? I think this has a lot. Like when I look at, like I was planning a trip a couple weeks ago, and I looked at the prices for both. I looked at how much time it would take. And if you're someone who values your time and if you value comfort, you might just choose to, use a plane, right? Because it obviously takes less time. Like, let's say if I wanted to travel to the capital right now, it's a 2 hour plane ride. But if I were to take the fastest train we have, I would still need 24 hours. And in addition to that, I mean, I don't know, I love trains. I'm a huge train fan. I love, like, traveling by land and being able to see all these places. I find it really cool. Planes are also great, of course, but trains are, much better for the environment, as we all know. But like I said, it takes a lot of time. And then, you think, why should I waste a whole day sitting in a train when I could get there in literally just 2 hours? And sometimes planes can even be a bit cheaper, especially in a lot of European countries. It's much cheaper, short distance, of course, within the country or to the next country or neighboring country. It can be cheaper, to get to travel by plane instead of getting yourself a train ticket. So that also obviously, plays a role. Like I said, most people nowadays, despite all the progress we've made, a lot of people still struggle, and any opportunity to save money, people will take that. But also, like I said, there's people who value their time a lot more. And so, especially, let's say if you're going on a holiday. Now, why would you want to, especially if you're an employee, you have, like, let's say you have 1 week of leave. Do you want to spend 2 days just traveling in a train? Or would you rather spend 4 hours or something on a plane, right? I mean, that's like a no brainer. No wonder why. What kind of obstacles do you think some local governments have to face when they develop transportation infrastructure? The biggest thing that comes to mind immediately is land. So, let's say you want to build a new train line. You can't just wake up and start building, right? You have to check how much land do we have? Where does this land fall? Right? Is it close to the highway? Is it close to an existing line or something? And also there's, people's homes, there's stores, shops, apartment buildings, things like that. And you have to, either, demolish them, of course, but first you need to get their permission, right? And that can be difficult. People will put up a fight. Okay, I mean, come on, think about it yourself. If tomorrow you receive a letter from the government saying, hey, we are planning a new metro line or something, and we need this land, so we're gonna offer you a sum of money. Do you want to take it? Yes or no? And a lot of people would agree, but then a lot of people would not agree. Maybe because they have an attachment to the land, or maybe sometimes the compensation that the government offers is not enough. So obviously, then that's a no-brainer. Why would I, take less than market rate, for example? And all these things, I think this is like the major issue: getting enough land, right? Because how else? Where are you going to build all these lines? I know that in my city, a lot of train lines were delayed, not just because of the land acquisition issue, but also because we have, like having to cut trees, for example. You need to get permission, you need to, petition the local high court and all that stuff. We also have a huge national park, and so there also it's a bit of an issue. So there's, all these things take up a lot of time. But then there's also the fact that sometimes there may be monetary issues, sometimes there may be other more pressing issues that you have to devote your finances to. So it may not always be possible to develop transport infrastructure in the way that the city or the country really needs. So, because governments have multiple aims and goals. It's kind of like a mother with a lot of children trying to ensure that she, you know, does a good job. It's difficult, to manage people, right? And so, yeah, I think all of this, getting enough land, getting enough financing as well. Because like here, for example, like I said, the metro, the newest lines, they have all been public-private partnerships, and not just, within the country. There's also investment from outside the country. But then you have to think like, okay, I'm, getting money from the country, or I'm getting rakes from this country, or I'm getting expertise from this country, I'm getting tools, whatever. But there's a lot of, things involved in terms of politics, diplomacy, international relations. For example, some countries, I won't name them, but there are some countries which are financing a lot of construction projects in Africa and Europe. And the problem is that the local government gets money or gets expertise from these countries, but they start to grow dependent on these countries, and that's always risky from a geopolitical perspective. What do you do to deal with the traffic problems in your city? Very simply, I'll be very blunt and honest. I just don't go out. I know that's not a solution, but the way that I've built and structured my life is that the biggest thing that I've done, I work from home. I've never liked the idea of commuting. Of course, when I was in college and when I had my first couple of jobs, I didn't really have an option, of course, because you have to go to university, you have to get some experience as well. But as soon as I was able to, which was around, I think, when I was like 24 years old, yeah, around that time, that's when I started, working online. I love the freedom that it brings me. But of course, work is just a small part of why you go outside, right? Um, as much as possible, I'd always try and take, the train or the metro because you can get a cab no problem, but the thing is it's just too slow, and I hate wasting time. And more, I mean, the thing is that you're sitting there in traffic doing what? You cannot do anything productive, right? So that's like the best thing to do. Of course, that also depends on when you travel. Like, I avoid going out when it's like the weekend or if it's a popular holiday because I know that most people are free on the weekends, right? So if you want to go somewhere, don't go on the weekends. Go on Monday. I can afford to do that because of the way my schedule is. Like I said, I work from home. I have my own, little online business. So it's easy for me to schedule things. I don't have a physical workplace to go to, a boss to answer to, all these things. So if I want to go somewhere, I'll go on a Monday, I'll go on a Tuesday or something, but I'll avoid the weekends, right? So I can really avoid all the peak hour, rush and traffic. I can choose a better time. Like, instead of going somewhere at 9 a.m. when I know there'll be a lot of traffic, I might choose to go at 12 p.m., 1 p.m. or something like that, right? So that's what I do. I balance all these things. I would say I'm kind of obviously lucky, touch wood, I'm lucky in that sense. Not everyone is able to do that, but I hope that, because a lot of people nowadays do work from home. They might have a hybrid, setup, or they might completely work from home. But that does, people are realizing that, hey, having to travel for 1 hour, 2 hours every single day, that's not normal. And that would naturally, I think, over time contribute to less and less traffic. I can already tell that in my city, there's less traffic than there used to be a couple years ago. So the whole pandemic has in some way given us a little bit of a blessing, which I think that's great. So yep, those were our questions. Let me just see if there's any other questions here. No, perfect. All right then. So I'll see you in the next video. Do check out other videos on the channel. We have tons and tons of videos that you can watch and learn from. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. It really helps us out, and I really appreciate your support. By the way, if you've got friends or family that are also preparing for the IELTS, you can always share these videos with them. Until then, bye bye.